Here's our review on the Durston X-MID 2 Solid. Alright, we're going to attempt to do a little review here while getting mauled by flies and
midgies,
probably midgies, while sharing a microphone. Because the tent's probably worth it.
Yeah, I think so.
I hope the microphone picks it up.
It probably will.
Back to it. So this is the X-MID 2 Solid. Obviously,
Durston.
The Durston.
Durston.
Hopefully you already got that. But I got first introduced to these tents with the Dyneema version. The short story is we found this brand new one second hand on Trade Me in New Zealand, and it's just been probably the best purchase of our trip.
Oh yeah, it's been a godsend.
Yeah. Where to even start? It's pretty stacked with features that you can probably just watch the Durston video on. It's like a 15-minute video. Is that a fly on the lens?
Yes.
Goodness gracious.
Gross.
Durston has a 15-minute video on like all the different ways to pitch their tents and how to pitch it properly.
Which you need to watch really to do the tent.
Yeah.
Well.
We've pitched it poorly a few times, and it does affect like the whole stability of the tent. I definitely had to fluff around even in the little video setting this up just to make sure you get a nice rectangular base and then everything sets up really easy, eh?
Yeah, set up your rectangle to begin with 90-degree corners and it's fine, but if you don't do that you will have half an hour of fluffing and adjusting,
and it's
you really just need to start again.
Spend the time at the setup.
Yeah.
Make sure your peg angles are 45 degrees and the angle of the tent's 90 and you'll be fine. Yeah. Man, we haven't had it in super windy conditions yet.
No.
We've had it a little bit windy off Ben Nevis when we were there, and it was fine.
Perfect even.
But I suppose what you really want to know is waterproofing. Have not had any problem with waterproofing at all. It's been fantastic, eh?
Yeah, 10 out of 10 so
10 out of
far.
10.
And we've had some pretty grotty days.
Pretty grotty, pretty wet days, and also condensation. Never had any problems with condensation. Because unlike the Dyneema versions, it's got a double skin. So you got the fly and the tent underneath.
Yeah. It breathes, and you can really feel a temperature difference as well.
Yeah, we've been incredibly amazed by just undoing the tent and having that wall between the fly. The temperature difference and what the tent holds is pretty incredible.
The flies are really grim.
These flies are grim. So reading our notes, ease of use. Once you get your 90-degree angles, it is really easy to pitch, eh?
Yeah.
Like all these new tents, I don't think they pitch very well on any uneven surface.
Yeah, slopes are tricky. Flat's easy, but...
Yeah, and I think that goes for any tent. That goes for any tent that sets up with poles. I have a Hyperlight at home, and same issue. If it's not dead flat where you're setting up, it's a pain. You saw me putting in the ground sheet and the fly separately. The ground sheet and the tent separately to the fly. Again, another godsend and super easy. Durston have on this fly a little D-ring which you can clip to, or two little sort of bits of fabric you can hook onto, which like a quick release. And both have been pretty invaluable, eh? Just in regards to when it's really wet, you can basically undo the tent and the ground sheet while having cover from the fly, and then we have 2 bags that we carry this tent in, so that we can put the wet ground sheet and fly into a bag on top of our packs, which you've seen in a couple of our videos, and then store the tent dry in your pack in the other bag, which is just a nice storage feature.
Also means if you need quick shelter, you can just set up your tent and you can just sit under your tent,
fly,
without getting rained on.
Yeah.
Or bugs.
Yeah. Other cool feature, again, they've got the stargazer kit, so you can set up the tent without the fly on top, and then if you've got 2 sets of poles like Hannah and I have for our hiking, you can set up the fly and still sleep in your tent. And then the porch, as Hannah's mentioning, a nice little feature to give you more space on a rainy day, or if you're just parked up and want some more airflow. Yeah.
What else is on the list?
What else is on our list here?
Drying.
Oh, so quick drying. When we were in
best.
Girvan, right? I think it was Girvan. We set up the tent in this little the
little
broken down
old
building. And not need to get the pegs in because of all the stones, but otherwise, Hannah basically held the ground sheet out in the wind while I set up the fly, and by the time I set the fly up, it was dry.
I think there's actually a video of me holding that.
Yeah, it's literally that quick, which is thanks to the nylon. So it's quick drying. Livable space. Okay, we've got 2 people. We're on a trip for possibly 3 years. So we've got everything in our sort of amazing yet unconventional arm packs, and we have enough space around the fly for our pack in the balance pockets.
And your shoes, and you can set up a little food area, and it's all kind of separate but close, and you still have heaps of headroom and footroom.
Heaps of headroom.
You're not sitting up and touching your head against the tent.
Yeah. So to
which is nice.
sort of compare 2 brands, right, that I've experienced with Durston and Hyperlite. The Hyperlite is only Dyneema version, which I think is a bit of a letdown. But also, although the Hyperlite perhaps had like more width and space there, I think the usable and livable space was far less functional because of the angles. It meant that you don't have as much like usable headspace, and I think that's been a real benefit for us.
Yeah, you
feel like you've got more space.
You can sit up or even kneel and stretch and things.
Yep.
Yeah, heaps of room.
And you've got room at the bottom of your feet. I think you can sort of sleep top and tail, or you can sleep next to each other as Hannah and I do, and even though one side
top and tail.
even though one side is more of an angle, hasn't bothered me when I've slept under the side with less headspace. And if it's windy, maybe if you're right next to the tent, it might flap around a little bit. Yeah,
not too bad.
Yeah. I've mentioned the huge range of setup options. We've got a stargazer kit on its way, so we can have those multiple setups as well.
Sitting in England as we speak.
Yeah, and I would 100% purchase again. Durston's contact is pretty incredible. I did send him an email saying, hey, here's our tent in cool places. And that's led to them being super generous. And we're definitely going to be I will definitely buy another tent from Durston. So all up, this tent weighs about 1.2 kgs. I think it's about that, and that's everything. The Dyneema version's obviously way more hyperlight, super light. But what you're trading off is condensation. You have condensation options. You're not going to have as many sort of setup options because it's single skin, which is where you get the condensation problems. And so I think for through hiking and anyone who just wants a little more luxury for an extra block of butter, essentially 500 grams or so, I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
I love having a setup with poles because I always walk with poles, so they're always with me regardless. But
you can buy the setup poles if you don't walk with poles. So you're an egg if you don't walk with poles.
Carbon Z flick poles, I think they're called. So a perfect fit for someone who doesn't walk with poles or a bike packer. I'll have to link in a dude who I was watching on a bikepacking video who has the same Durston X-MID solid but the one-person version, and he uses the Z flick poles.
I think the only difference that we have versus standard buy is we have extra pegs. We swapped to MSR groundhog pegs rather than the Durston pegs because we just preferred the
I think the little spiral design has perhaps a little more grip. I found that the MSR pegs compared to a traditional straight peg or the V peg of the Durston sort of bends, it moves around the rocks a bit better.
You ended up killing your pegs.
Yeah.
And we carry a few extras as well, so that if we do get caught in horrible weather, we can peg every single tie down. Not that we've needed to, but...
What we don't have set up is the guidelines. There's a guideline just above Hannah's head on the peak over here, which comes out at 90 degrees from the tent. Super easy to set up. And then there's extra pegging on the door just behind us and on the sides of the tent. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The zips work really well.
The zips are fantastic. They don't leak.
Again, if you set it up like Durston recommend, with a peg just underneath the door on a slight angle, the door works well and you save stress on the zipper. It has a magnetic latch for when you fold the door out. And there's heaps of cool knick-knack space in there. So beside each door,
pouches.
Yep, there's a pouch, and it took me until I think our last night in this tent to realise there's these cool pockets on top of the tent as well.
Oh, for your torch to go in.
Yeah, super cool. There's some loops in there which you could hang lights and stuff from, or anything else you want to hang from in there as well. And I can't think of anything else right now.
No, other than that, it's a really cool tent. It is serving us really well.
Yeah. I honestly couldn't
Highly
imagine.
recommend.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing this trip in the tent I was going to bring, and that's my Hyperlite 2-person unbound. I think I'd be miserable with the condensation, and I'd be, pretty wet, because although you can just shake Dyneema dry, we haven't had any problem with wet gear because our tent is always dry, and then the fly doesn't really matter so much. It dries so quickly, and same with the ground sheet. Yeah. Anything else from you, Hannah, that you can think of right now?
I don't think so.
No, buy a Durston.
Get a Durston.
It's 100% worth its money. I think that the solid versions of their tent, so the nylon versions, are pretty affordable.
Yeah.
Brand new, I think New Zealand. It's like under $600 for the tent, the ground sheet and pegs and stuff. It's pretty incredible. That's including postage.
Yeah, when you compare it to, the price of the MSR Hubba Bubba, it's pretty affordable. And I mean, with all the features of this, it's not like you're missing out on anything. You get all your features, but for a fraction of the price. What's there to question?
Yeah. And again, I think I'm struggling to, the only way I'd want a Dyneema version now is if I wanted to go super, super lightweight. And I can't think of it.
Fast packing, maybe.
Yeah, but I even can't think of a trip that I would want to sacrifice the condensation. It's just, you don't want a damp sleeping bag and damp everything inside the tent because of the condensation.
But no, it's a good tent. It's easy.
Would buy again, 100%. It's the tent I'd recommend for everyone.
It's light. It packs down quite small.
Super small. I mean, the picture I had shown, that wasn't even pushed down. That was just it floating around in the bag.
Yeah, being nylon, you don't have to worry about the creases or anything.
Yeah,
you can just kind of stuff it into the bag.
You can stuff nylon instead of having to be a little more thoughtful around folding Dyneema, which actually reminds me, because of this really weird diagonal setup they have, which is brilliant, it does mean when you're trying to wrap it up, it is easier just to stuff into a sack rather than try fold. That can be a bit of a struggle sometimes.
Yeah, and stuff it top down,
so
you squeeze all the air out.
Stuff top down because it holds on to air because it's
fantastic.
Fantastic. I'm as passionate about this tent as I am about arm packs, and that I would recommend one to everyone because they're amazing and they do exactly what they say they're going to do.
I can't disagree with you there.
Yeah.
It's a great tent.
Get a Durston and an arm pack. I should become a retailer and sell them both together.
You should.
Yeah.
Package deal.
Salty grins, tried and tested. It's the salty grins take of approval. Yeah. It's keeping me salty, grinning lots and throwing shuckers.
It's keeping you salty.
Because I'm out there, I'm out there in nature.
If it's keeping you salty, it's keeping you grumpy. This tent makes you happy, not grumpy.
But stay salty is
I know,
the slogan, Hannah. I mean, surely you've dated me almost a year and you don't know the slogan properly. Stay salty, grin lots, stay grumpy.
Yeah, but if I'm calling you salty, it usually means you're hangry.
Yeah, I'm a bit hangry right now, I think.
You need an apple and a peanut butter.
Apple and yum. And some yogurt and some muesli. Some bread, kimchi.
Dinner. It's 20 to 5.
Okay, so fantasize about food.
Sign
Probably
out.
time to sign out.
Over and out.
Yeah, so tried and tested. Would buy.